Welcome to the show. My name is Jeremy Poole, and I'm the host of The Moment on Real Estate Social, where we explore and celebrate the necessary transformational process one must go through to achieve a high level of success in the real estate industry. Folks, today we have a very special guest. His name is Eric Engelland. He's my business partner, co-founder of this company. He is my mentor and dear friend. Typically, when we have a guest on the show, it's because they have achieved a high level of success and they've gone through some things, a sort of forging process that allowed them to learn some very valuable lessons in life and in business to achieve that success. Now, although Eric is very successful, in this case, it's a little bit different. Eric is actually going through his moment right now, and he's so bold and courageous enough to share that moment with us. Eric, thank you so much for your willingness to be open and to share this raw emotion and experience while you're still in the middle of it.
It's my pleasure. I'm happy to be here, believe it or not.
So what happened last week that allowed you to consider this right here, right now, your moment? That's going to change your life.
Yeah. So let me go back just a little bit to provide a bit of backdrop for folks. So I have been in the real estate finance industry for 24 years. And it has been a fantastic experience. And I've been blessed to have a lot of really cool people in my life, work with and for a lot of incredible folks. I've also had a chance to own a number of businesses through that, again, with some amazing relationships with some really smart, fun, giving, caring, amazing people. And I've had a lot of experiences through that. And some of them were hard, painful, difficult. But in going through kind of all the things I have over the past quarter century, I've gotten to the point over the past few years where I don't experience as many firsts anymore. Opening my first business was amazing. And that's a story in and of itself, because there was also some real pain involved, and man, some scary stuff in opening that business. And then I went on to open and start a few more businesses. Getting married, and I've only had a first, getting married. What I'm thankful to say. 21, almost 22 years now, and having your first child. I have 3 daughters. But up until last week, to answer your question, I had never experienced getting fired. And I got fired from my job. And so, in addition to co-founding this, which was really, your vision for viewers, Jeremy had this incredible vision for Real Estate Social. But as we co-founded it, and we've been working on this, I have continued full-time and to really spend a majority of my energy on running and leading a branch of a mortgage company. And my boss drove into the parking lot and came into the branch and asked to speak with me and sat me down and let me go.
Wow. Did you have any idea that this was coming?
I didn't. It was a surprise to me.
Wow.
It was a surprise. And fairly quickly, it probably took me 10 seconds or so to be able to pull up all of the coaching and training that I've had over the past 2 decades. And for all the times that I haven't wanted to hear what coaches have told me, I haven't wanted to do the work, I haven't wanted to read the book, I haven't wanted to be self-reflective and introspective, and haven't wanted to hear the feedback from some of my leaders and mentors. In that moment, it all became clear to me that one of the reasons that I did all that and I was pushed to have those experiences and learn those things was to be able to take advantage of that moment. And I quickly realized, and I shared with my boss, as that person fired me, that I appreciated them. And I gave that person a hug, and I said good luck, and I quietly left the office. That was kind of it.
Yeah. That's insane. And thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
How soon between that happened and the time that you called me was there?
Yeah. My wife is a NICU nurse, and she was working, and so for those of you that understand, intensive care nursing, you don't just make phone calls into those departments, and so I needed to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
And some of my best friends were the people that I worked with, and a number of them I actually hired to the company. So I called my pastor, whom I've been friends with for 19 years, and his first response was, "Oh my gosh, Eric, I'm so sorry." And then his second comment was to say, "Ha! You got fired on Good Friday." So you got to love a pastor with a sense of humor.
Yeah.
It was hard. I mean, it was scary.
Yeah, I bet.
It was painful. To have that kind of rejection. For me, largely come out of left field. It was really emotional, and so I felt it in the moment. I talked to a couple of people, a couple of buddies, and even on the phone as I was talking to them, my voice cracked a couple of times. And I'm not, if you know me, I'm not
definitely
an
not
emotive
a
guy. Yeah, I don't cry much. I probably need to work that out in therapy, but yeah, it was really, really hard. That afternoon, I talked to my wife, and that was a tough conversation.
Oh, I'm sure.
And her response was almost worth getting fired, because we've been through a lot together, and she reminded me of that. She said initially she was shocked, couldn't believe it, and then she pretty quickly moved to questioning me about a lot of different things, and we had a good conversation, and she was concerned. So from shock to concern, and then really she just went right into affirming me. She said, "Sweetheart, I trust you. I know that you will continue to take care of us like you've always taken care of us.
Yeah.
And
it's amazing.
and we're going to be okay." But that belief, that support, that trust, is priceless from from people we love. And so thank you, honey, for doing that. And that was a tough one, man.
Yeah, I bet.
Next, I told my kids, and it's funny how kids respond. My 12-year-old said, "Well, Dad, you're doing real estate social with Jeremy, so everything's good, right?" And then she took another bite of crepe. No
big deal.
Yeah, no big deal. My 16-year-old was a little tougher. She said, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
I said, "Yeah, sweetheart, I am." She goes, "Are we okay?" I said, "Yeah, we're gonna be great." Okay. And then my 18-year-old, I think, is still processing it here. It's been 8 days. So it happened a week ago Friday.
Wow. Yeah. Still fresh.
Really fresh. I'm I think still a little, emotionally raw and rocked from the experience, but so thankful and so grateful. Genuinely for, and I'm going to go back to this, all the coaching and training that I've had to help me understand and appreciate what business is about and what life is about. And it allowed me to get over myself very quickly.
Yeah.
And to appreciate that some things I have control over and some things I don't.
Yeah.
What I have learned to do more and more, and I'm still got a long way to go, but it's to really own every situation. And so, you know, I said it took 10 or 15 seconds. One of the things that happened in that period of time is, you know, I chose not to be a victim. I wasn't going to blame that on anybody. I wasn't going to blame my circumstance and my situation and the outcome of, in that moment, not having a job on anybody. I wasn't going to blame it on circumstances. I was certainly not going to blame it on my boss.
There you go.
And I just needed to own it. There were things that I did and didn't do that put me in that spot.
Yeah.
And I can either be mad, or I can accept it for what it is, and I can ask myself, what is the best thing for me to learn right now?
I think that's a huge one for anyone who is watching this or very soon, or will be watching it in the future, is that you can't dictate or decide what's going to happen to you, but you can decide how you're going to respond to it. And just to this man's character and strength, when he called me, was it a Friday? Friday. He called me on a Friday. It was a nice day too.
Yeah, it was.
So he calls me, and it's typical, hey buddy, how's it going? And he says, guess what? What? I'm thinking it's good news. So this person, our boss, came into the office and fired 2 people. I'm thinking, no way. Who? Tells me one of the people. I was blown away by that. And he said the second person was me, in great humor, as if he was joking. And I was blown away. I thought for sure he was joking, and he wasn't. But it just goes to show you, this man's character and strength, that sometimes life is going to give you lemons, and all you can really do is make some delicious lemonade out of it. And now he's here today, looking sharp, sharing a story. We're still plugging away, doing our thing. And so just so grateful to be able to have a man like this in my life and to share this great project with him.
One of the things that struck me is that so often we move away from or push back on confusion and fear. And because if you're not in a coaching program, if you don't have a mentor, if you don't have someone who you have allowed into your life and given them permission to speak truth to you, I would love for you to reconsider that, because it makes all the difference.
Absolutely.
It makes all the difference. But I recognize that I had this really short window to be able to capture what was happening and what is happening right now.
Right.
You mentioned that, most of the time when people are sitting in this chair, they're talking about painful events and adversity that happened months or years ago.
Right.
And this is still pretty fresh. And one of the great blessings in that is that there's things we can learn immediately, after, in and immediately after an event, that we can no longer learn months and years later.
Right.
And so I've been reflecting a lot on that, and this has been an incredible 8 days of learning for me.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not fun, right? It's not fun. But if we don't immediately revert to our emotional tendency to want to rail against the confusion and pain and fear,
that's right,
and we stay open to what could be, then we stay open to learning. You and I talk all the time about confusion, and people don't like confusion. But confusion is the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Because what happens to us every single time we learn something, immediately preceding that, we're confused.
Frustrated, scared.
A state of confusion allows us to learn something new, because if we weren't confused, we didn't have anything to learn.
Yeah.
And so, fear's the same way. Acknowledging it, that it's real, but then quickly shifting to a place where I can get back in touch with my purpose, and I can get clear about my vision. And if I've done good work in those areas, those things don't change. The event doesn't change them.
Right.
I don't care what the event was.
Speed bump.
Those things are staying the same. Yeah, speed bump. It's a great way to put it. And so it lets me get back on track, and I can really move through something, not ignore it, not cover it up, but I can really embrace it for what it is, and move through it. And my hope is in this, part of, again, the blessing, and that can seem, kind of trite, now it's just a buzzword, but the cool thing about it is whenever we do something, we have street cred for that thing.
Right.
Because we've done that thing. And what I've just done is get fired. I've lost my job.
Yeah.
I've gone, financially, in terms of paychecks, from 60 to 0 really, really quickly.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people that can relate. And I would just, encourage you, if you're in that spot, to keep your chin up and embrace the people around you.
Wow.
That love you and that want to help.
So good.
It's hard for me sometimes to accept help, but man, you, brother, have been fantastic, incredible, gracious, supportive, and it's really let me, kind of reconnect with my humility.
Yeah.
Which I think is also important. But it's let me reconnect with my humility and really let people into my life that I'm fortunate love me and really want to help.
Fantastic. Well, also good. So many lessons there to be learned. But that happened. You're in the middle of the moment.
Yeah.
What's next for Eric Engelland?
Yeah, it's a great question.
Where are you at right now, mentally, emotionally, that you weren't 8 days ago? Mm-hmm. What has shifted?
One of the biggest things that shifted is the clarity with which I see my purpose. And I tend to get, and this may be true of other people too, distracted.
Yeah.
By things, by stuff.
Yeah.
By my own ego, by life, by comfort, by entitlement, and all these things that creep in. And when I had my job moved off the plate, it really made me wake up, and it's like getting cold water thrown on you.
Yeah.
And a slap in the face, kind of. And so I see things a lot more clearly. And a lot of the distractions that I'd allowed to deter my focus and my attention from the few things that are really most important, both personally and professionally, I see them so clearly now. And so in that regard, this last 8 days has been incredible.
Beautiful.
At the same time, it's been really painful and tough.
Well, I'm so excited. On the bright side, I now have him full time, so that's a blessing for us, the company, me personally. I cannot wait for us to reflect back on this in a year and see how much we've accomplished and just how many people we've helped through this story. I think all in all, it's gonna be a big push for us, and I can't wait to see what happens.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you.
Well, thank you for being on the show, brother.
Yeah, man.
Thank you. Thanks, guys, and that's the end of this show, and we'll see you again next week.